Hey guys, today we are going to discuss about fire resistant partitions. Part 1. Depending upon its location and functionality with our building, partition walls may be expected to fulfill different requirements in the event of fire, and these should be taken into account at the planning stage. So what is a fire resistant partitions? The function of a fire resistant partition is to prevent the propagation of fire. Depending on the direction in which a fire is prevented, fire resistant partitions can be grouped into two. First one, general partitions. Second one, local partitions. These are the two types of fire resistant partitions. The term general refers to a case where propagation of fire is prevented in all the three directions, which means X, Y, Z direction. And local refers to a case where only one dimensional fire is prevented. General partitions include firewalls, floors, screens, fire separations, etc. Local partitions include dikes, mounds, embankments, ditches, drains, and diaphragms. Now move on to the fire resistant wall. A fire resistant wall is a general fire partition. It is considered as a general fire resistant partition. Depending on the purpose for which a fire resistant wall is used, it can be classified into three types. External firewall that prevents spread of fire between the buildings. Second one, internal firewall which prevents spread of fire inside the building. And third one, freestanding firewall that serves as a shield during a possible fire and compensates for insufficient fire separation between buildings. External firewalls are called party walls, while internal firewalls are known as compartment walls. The effectiveness of fire-resistant wall depends on the following factors: its non-combustibility, heat resistance capacity, stability, density and impermeability of combustion products. See the image of fire-resistant wall or firewall used in buildings. A transformer is covered with a fire-resistant wall and a building which is separate with a fire-resistant wall. Now you can see the schematic diagram of firewall. So there are two images, A and B. A, that is when a framework is filled with the layers of bricks, and B, when the framework is filled with the layers of bricks and thickening is applied to protect the reinforcement bars. You can see the parts of the fire wall: brick layer, elastic parking, cement mortar, thickening made of bricks of insulation, reinforced concrete beams, ceiling or roof panel, column, layer of bricks, etc. Let us discuss the design requirements of fire resistant wall or fire rated wall. Usually a fire resistant wall or firewall constructed with non-combustible materials. It is fully made with non-combustible materials. Other design requirements for fire resistant wall are discussed below. So these are the other design requirements. First one, fire resistance. A fire resistant wall must have a minimum of 2-hour fire resistance duration. However, in special cases such as in boiler rooms, switchgears of transformer located in basement floor, etc. As per NBC Part 4, the fire resistance rating required for a firewall is as follows. For type 1 construction, 4 hours, and all other types, 2 hours. A typical example showing the specifications of firewall is presented in following table. Look into this table. You can see the specification of firewall. Typical example. So for a masonry wall which have a load bearing structures of 2-hour rating, it should have a minimum thickness of 160 mm, and 4 hours rating, it should have a minimum thickness of 240 mm. For hollow bricks of concrete without finishing. So for 2-hour non-load bearing structures, it should have a minimum thickness of 140 mm, and 4 hours non-load bearing structures, we should have a minimum thickness of 150 mm. That is also for framed construction external walls, 90 and 100 for 2-hour and 4-hour non-load bearing structures. Second factor, efficiency of joints. Joints are highly vulnerable parts in a firewall. Smoke and gas impermeability of firewall is greatly affected if the joints are not executed properly. The joints between wall panels and framework between wall panels and roof and ceiling structures also require special attention. So it is preferable to support floor panels separately, like supporting on projections of cross beams of a framed structure instead of supporting an firewall. Similarly, embedding of girders, beams, etc. into major firewall is to be avoided, since cracks may develop at the junction, and through these cracks the products of combustion can penetrate. Further, if a horizontal projection is provided on the cross beams or columns when the ceiling panel is to be supported, then these projections project the firewall from getting damaged during the failure of a ceiling panel. Okay. The third factor that is important, that is the stability. During a fire, combustible walls, floor and roof in contact with the firewall may burn out completely. So when fire destroys such structures, one side of the firewall may become like a freestanding wall. Wind and other forces may act on this side of the wall, thereby causing stability problems. Similarly, long and slender firewalls may be subjected to forces that may tend to tilt them due to horizontal loads or vertical loads acting at an eccentricity which may develop during a fire. Hence, firewalls, particularly slender walls, are to be checked against horizontal and overburning. Now the fourth factor is separation of structures. Firewall must cut cross combustible structures to restrict the spread of fire along outer walls as well as roof. As per NBC Part 4, the firewall must extend above the roof by 1 meter at all points. If it is not possible to extend the firewalls above roof level and the roof is made of combustible materials, then the roof is to be provided with non-combustible covering on either sides of the wall for a width of at least 1.5 meter of either sides. Next, move on to the fire resistant ceilings. So what is a fire resistant ceiling? The purpose of a fire resistant ceiling is to prevent of spread of fire in the vertical direction, to separate fire areas horizontally from other parts of the building. Some examples where a fire resistant ceiling or a fire resistant floor used are: first one, storage room in a factory building are to be separated from production areas by firewalls as well as by fire resistant ceilings. Different occupancy groups in a building are to be separated using fire resistant floor. Basement and upper floors are to be separated with the fire resistant floor at the ground level. For a fire resistant ceiling should be effective, it should have sufficient fire resistance and combustible resistance. Then it should have sufficient density. The fire resistant ceiling should be made with the non-combustible materials. It should have sufficient impermeability to combustion products. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you. Thank you for watching. For more videos, like, subscribe and share.